I do not believe that any of us have dreams that were not given to us for a purpose of accomplishing those particular dreams. The art of money getting. This is a quick guide to building wealth. Don't mistake your vocation. The safest plan and the one most sure of success for young men starting in life is to select a vocation which is pleasant to his taste. Parents and guardians are often quite too negligent in regard to this. It is very common for a father to say, for example, I have 5 boys. I will make Billy a clergyman, John a lawyer, Tom a doctor, and Dick a farmer. He then goes into town and look about to see what he will do with Sammy. He returns home and say, Sammy, I see watchmaking is a nice genteel business. I think I will make you a goldsmith. He does this regardless of Sam's natural inclination or genius. We are all, no doubt, born for a wise purpose. There is as much diversity in our brains as in our faces. Some are born natural mechanics, while some have great aversion to machinery. Let a group of boys of 10 years get together, and you will soon observe 2 or 3 whittling out some ingenious device, working with locks or complicated machinery. When they were 5 years old, their father could not find a toy to please them like a puzzle. They are natural mechanics, but the other 8 or 9 boys have different aptitudes. I belong to a latter class. I never had the slightest love for mechanism. On the contrary, I have a sort of abhorrence for complicated machinery. I never had the ingenuity enough to whittling a cider tap so it would not leak. I never could make a pen that I could write with, or understand the principle of a steam engine. If a man was to take such a boy as I was and attempt to make him a watchmaker, the boy might, after an apprenticeship of 5 or 7 years, be able to take apart and put together a watch. But all through life, he would be working uphill and seizing every excuse for leaving his work, idling away his time. Watchmaking is repulsive to him. Unless a man enters upon the vocation intended for him by nature and best suited to his peculiar genius, he cannot succeed. I'm glad to believe that the majority of the people do find their right vocation. Yet, we see many who have mistaken their calling, from the blacksmith up or down to the clergyman. You will see, for instance, that extraordinary linguist, the learned blacksmith, who thought to have been a teacher of languages, and you may have seen lawyers, doctors, and clergymen who were better fitted by nature for the anvil or the lapstone. Chapter 2. Select the right location. After securing the right vocation, you must be careful to select the proper location. You may have been cut out for a hotel keeper, and they say it requires a genius to know how to keep a hotel. You might conduct a hotel like clockwork and provide satisfactory for 500 guests every day. Yet, if you should locate your house in a small village where there is no railroad communication or public travel, the location would be your ruin. It is equally important that you do not commence business where there are already enough to meet all demands in the same occupation. I remember a case which illustrates this subject. When I was in London in 1858, I was passing down Holborn with an English friend and came to a penny show. They had immense cartoons outside portraying the wonderful curiosities to be seen, all for a penny. Being a little in the show line myself, I said, let us go in here. We soon found ourselves in the presence of the illustration man, and he proved to be the sharpest man in the line I have ever met. He told us some extraordinary stories in reference to his bearded ladies, his albinos, and his armadillos, which we could hardly believe, but thought it better to believe it than to look after the proof. He finally begged to call our attention to some wax statuary and showed us a lot of the dirtiest and filthiest wax figures imaginable. They look as if they had not seen water since the Great Flood. What is there so wonderful about your statuary? I asked. I beg you not to speak so mockingly. He replied, Sir, these are not Madame Tussauds wax figures, all covered with gilt and tinsels and imitation diamonds and copied from engravings and photographs. Mine, sir, were taken from life. Whenever you look upon one of those figures, you may consider that you are looking upon the living individuals. Glancing casually at them, I saw one labeled Henry VIII, and feeling a little curious upon seeing that it looked like Calvin Edson, the living skeleton, I said, Do you call that Henry VIII? He replied, Certainly, sir. It was taken from life at the Hampton Court by special order of His Majesty on such a day. He would have given the hour of the day if I had resisted. I said, Everybody knows that Henry VIII was a great stout old king, and that figure is lean and lank. What do you say to that? Why, he replied, you would be lean and lank yourself if you sit there as long as he has. There was no resisting such argument. I said to my English friend, Let us go out. Do not tell him who I am. I show the white feathers, he beats me. He followed us to the door, and seeing the rebel in the street, he called out, Ladies and gentlemen, I beg to draw your attention to the respectable characters of my visitors, pointing to us as we walked away. I called upon him a couple of days afterwards, told him who I was, and said, My friend, you are an excellent showman, but you have selected a bad location. He replied, This is true, sir. I feel that all my talents are thrown away. But what can I do? You can go to America, I replied. You can give full play to your faculties over there. You will find plenty of elbow room in America. I will engage you for 2 years. After that, you will be able to go on your own account. He accepted my offer and remained 2 years in my New York museum. He then went to New Orleans and carried on a traveling show business during the summer. Today, he is worth $60,000 simply because he selected the right vocation and also secured a proper location. The old proverb says, 3 removes are as bad as a fire, but when a man is in the fire, it matters but little how soon or how often he is removed. Now, this is a summary what the author is saying about in chapter 2. In this chapter, the author says that where you do business or work is just as important as what you do. He gives examples like how a store that sells winter coats won't do well in a hot place, and how a fisherman can't make money in the desert. So even if you are good at something, you have to do it in the right place where people need or want what you offer. He says, if you open the best shop or start a great business, but you are in the wrong place, like where no one needs your product, you probably won't succeed. Now, the main message for chapter 2 is choose a good location where people want or need what you do or sell. Chapter 3, avoid debt. Young men starting in life should avoid running into debt. There is scarcely anything that drags a person down like debt. It is a slavish position to get in. Yet we find many young men, hardly out of his teens, running in debt. He meets a chum and says, Look at this. I've got trusted for a new suit of clothes. He seems to look upon the clothes as so much given to him. Well, it frequently is so. But if he succeeds in paying and gets trusted again, he is adopting a habit which will keep him in poverty through life. Debt robs a man of his self-respect, and makes him almost despise himself, grunting and groaning and working for what he has eaten up or worn out, and now when he is called upon to pay up, he has nothing to show for his money. This is probably termed working for a dead horse. I do not speak of merchants buying and selling on credit, or of those who buy on credit in order to turn the purchase to a profit. The old Quaker said to his farmer son, "John, never get trusted, but if you get trusted for anything, let it be for manure, because that will help you pay it back again." Mr. Beecher advised young men to get in debt if they could to a small amount in the purchase of land. In the country district. If a young man, he says, will only get in debt for some land and get married, these two things will keep him straight or nothing will. This may be safe to a limited extent, but getting in debt for what you eat and drink and wear is to be avoided. Some families have a foolish habit of getting credit at the store, and thus frequently purchase many things which could have been avoided. It is all very well to say, "I've got trusted for 60 days, and if I don't have the money, the creditor will think nothing about it." There is no class of people in the world who have such good memories as creditors. When the 60 days runs out, you will have to pay. If you do not pay, you will break your promises and probably resort to a falsehood. You may make some excuse or get in debt elsewhere to pay, but that only involves you in the deeper. A good-looking, lazy young fellow was the apprentice boy of Horatio. His employer said, "Horatio, did you ever see a snail?" I think I have," he drawled out. "You must have met him then, for I am sure you never took one," said the boss. Your creditor will meet you or overtake you and say, "Now, my young friend, you agreed to pay me. You have not done it. You must give me your note." You give the note on interest and it commences working against you. It is a dead horse. The creditor goes to bed at night and wakes up in the morning better off than he retired to bed, because his interest has increased during the night. But you grow poor while you are sleeping, for the interest is accumulating against you. Money is in some respect like fire. It is a very excellent servant, but a terrible master. When you have it mastering you, when interest is constantly piling up against you, it will keep you down in the worst kind of slavery. But let money work for you, and you have the most devoted servant in the world. It is no eye servant. There's nothing animate or inanimate that will work so faithfully as money when you place at interest, well secured. It works night and day, and in wet or dry weather. I was born in the blue law state of Connecticut, where the old Puritans had laws so rigid that it was sad. They fined a man for kissing his wife on Sunday. Yet these rich old Puritans would have thousands of dollars at interest, and on Saturday night would be worth a certain amount. On Sunday, they would go to church and perform all the duties of a Christian. On waking up on Monday morning, they would find themselves considerably richer than Saturday night previous, simply because their money placed at interest had worked faithfully for them all day Sunday according to the law. Do not let it work against you. If you do, there is no chance for success in life so far as money is concerned. John Randolph, the eccentric Virginian, once exclaimed in Congress, "Mr. Speaker, I have discovered the philosopher's stone. Pay as you go." This is indeed nearer to the philosopher's stone than any alchemist has ever yet arrived. This is a summary of chapter 3. In this chapter, the author talks about how dangerous debt can be. He says it's okay to borrow money only if you are sure you can pay it back, like borrowing to start a smart business But if you borrow money just to buy things you don't need or to look rich when you are not, you are setting yourself up for trouble. Being in debt can make you stressed. Being in debt can make you stressed, worried, and unhappy. It can also stop you from saving money or building wealth. He even says that the people who borrow a lot might end up feeling like they are not free. The main message for chapter 3 is try your best to live within your means and stay out of debt unless it's something smart or important. Chapter 4, Persevere. When a man is in the right path, he must persevere. I speak of this because there are some people who are born tired, naturally lazy, and possessing no self-reliance and no perseverance. But they can cultivate these qualities, as Davy Crockett said. This thing remember, when I'm dead, be sure you are right, then go ahead. It's this drive, this determination not to let the horrors or the blues take possession of you, so as to make you relax your energies in the struggles for independence, which you must cultivate. How many have almost reached the goal of their ambition, but losing faith in themselves have relaxed their energies and the golden prize has been lost forever? It is, no doubt, often true. As Shakespeare says, there is a tide in the affairs of men, which, taken at the flood, leads to a fortune. If you hesitate, some bolder hand will stretch out before you and get the prize. Remember the proverb of Solomon. He becomes poor that deals with a slacken, but the hand of the diligent makes him rich. Perseverance is sometimes but another word for self-reliance. Many people naturally look on the dark side of life and borrow trouble. They are born so, then they ask for advice and they will be governed by one wind and blown away by another, and cannot rely upon themselves. Until you get so that you can rely upon yourself, you need not to expect to succeed. I have known men personally who I have met who have financial setbacks and absolutely committed suicide because they thought they could never overcome their misfortune. But I have known others who I have met in more serious financial difficulties and have bridged them over by a simple perseverance, aided by the firm belief that they were doing justly, and their providence would overcome evil with good. You will see this illustrated in any sphere of life. Take two generals. Both understand military tactics, both educated at West Point, if you please, both equally gifted. Yet one having this principle of perseverance and the other lacking it. The former will succeed in his profession while the latter will fail. You hear the cry, the enemy are coming and they have got cannon. Got cannon, says the hesitating general. Yes, then halt every man. He wants time to reflect. His hesitation is his ruin. The enemy passes unmolested or overwhelms him. While on the other hand, the general of pluck, perseverance, and self-reliance goes into battle with a will, and amid the clash of arms, the booming of cannon, the shrieks of the wounded, and the moans of the dying, you will see this man persevering, going on, cutting, slashing his way through with unwavering determination, inspiring his soldiers to deeds of fortitude, valor, and triumph. Now this is a summary of chapter 4. In this chapter, the author talks about the importance of never giving up. He says that many people fail not because they aren't smart or talented, but because they give up too soon. Success takes hard work, patience, and time. Sometimes things don't go as planned. You might fail once, twice, or even more. But if you keep trying, learning from your mistakes, and pushing forward, you have a much better chance of succeeding in life. The author says, even if you fail, get back up and keep going. Now, the main message of chapter 4 is don't quit when things get tough. Keep going, and you will increase your chances of success.